Welcome to my bold and beautiful today's show channel. I hope today fantastic for everyone. Please hit the subscribes button and give this video thumbs up. Taylor and Steffy are furious when Brooke stops the show. The runway was hopping as the Forrester Creations fashion show continued. The guests were in awe as the models did their thing in Ridge, Zende, and Eric's latest creations. Will and Zende were pleased with the response from the audience as they watched the show on the monitors. The audience even loved the intoxicating fragrance of Daphne Rose. Backstage, Eric consulted with Donna and Katie to make sure that Brooke was ready for the showstopper moment and that it was still a secret from Ridge. "I want Ridge to remember who he is with Brooke," Eric stated. "I want them to get back together." Eric was then praised by Zende for the show's success and the design's beauty. Zende stated, "This is some of your best work yet." Eric felt grateful for Zende's words and deeds. Eric complimented him, saying, "I appreciate you staying with the company when the coup occurred, to be eyes and ears on the inside." Elektra and Will were also impressed. Brooke was in a panic when she realized that Taylor and she were locked in her dressing room vault, which meant that Brooke might miss Taylor's show-stopping entrance. Neither one of them even had their phone to call security. "This just proves my point. You have no business here at Forrester Creations," Brooke said. "This is my profession. This is my passion. It's a very important day for me." After Taylor apologized for locking them in by accident, Brooke lamented, "It's a very important day for Forrester Creations." Taylor asked why Brooke was in a robe, but Brooke refused to tell her, which just made Taylor suspicious. As Brooke kept pounding on the door, Taylor calmly told her that Ridge would notice she was missing and come looking. According to Brooke, it would be too late then. Brooke bit her tongue and reluctantly informed Taylor that she wanted to get along with her and try to be friends, or at least adults, after Taylor apologized once more. "Ridge still calls me his Logan," Brooke exclaimed eagerly. After that, she became alarmed once more when she realized that the showstopper was getting close to starting. Taylor wanted Brooke to be honest about the pain she caused Ridge when she took the CEO position. "Every time he looks at you, he'll be reminded of how it made him feel," Taylor said. When Steffy couldn't find Taylor, she was alarmed, but Ridge just assumed she was watching the show. Will and Elektra informed Katie and offered to assist Eric in finding Brooke. While Carter made the observation that the crowd was on fire and that social media was abuzz, she set out with Will and Elektra to locate her sister. Carter and Ridge shared a bonding moment, glad that they had made peace and could have such a successful show, but Brooke was still nowhere to be found. Brooke's voice was finally heard by Katie, Will, and Elektra in the vault. Thankfully, Charlie came along with a key and got Brooke out on time. Brooke bolted for the runway while a confused Ridge wondered where the showstopper gown had gone. As Eric, Donna, and Katie got Brooke ready for her big moment, Ridge got on stage to halt the audience. Eric gave Brooke a little pep talk before she went out on stage, assuring her that she would blow Ridge away. Ridge was indeed blown away as Brooke slowly made her way down the runway in a perfect wedding gown, reminding him of a moment in Portofino all those years ago. She motioned for Ridge to join her on stage and he smiled as she walked toward him. Ridge waved to the cheering crowd, then put his arm around Brooke as they smiled at one another. Backstage, the Forresters and Logans were thrilled that the showstopper was a successful ending to a great show, although Eric and the Logan sisters were especially happy watching the CCTV and seeing Ridge smiling at Brooke. Meanwhile, from the side of the stage, Taylor and Steffy watched in shock. Ridge receives a showstopper from Eric. The bold and the beautiful, a Forrester employee, continued to use business for personal reasons. "Nope, not Steffy." She threw a smile on her face and acted like she didn't have a care in the world, despite being traumatized about Liam's diagnosis. It was Eric, conspiring with Donna and Katie to use the showstopper dress as a way to get Brooke and Ridge back together. And it was Brooke who was in on the plan and happily wanted to use the fashion show to her advantage. And, although just an honorary employee because she's there every day, it was Taylor who wanted to yap through the fashion show to rehash how Brooke hurt Ridge by taking the CEO position through the coup. While Brooke waffled between pounding on the vault door, telling Taylor she was a familyless screw-up, and claiming she wanted to be friends for the sake of the grandkids, Brooke was desperate to get out of the room in time for the show's finale. "Wait a minute, what are you doing in a robe?" Taylor came to the conclusion. But she didn't get her answer until Brooke and Ridge were staring into each other's eyes at the end of the runway while she wore a near replica of her Portofino wedding gown. Congrats, Eric. When he has to tell his roommate that Eric changed his mind and secretly attempted to undermine Taylor's relationship despite everything he has said to Taylor about her and Ridge over the past few months, things might be a little awkward at home. Ouch. Want more information? You are ours. Soap Central has the best full B&B recaps on the internet. You can even go back over 30 years and read each and every one of them. If you can't wait until the next episode, we have daily spoilers, too. And whatever you do this weekend, do not, seriously, do not, forget to read the 2 scoops for some laughs in the As Close As We Can come to being a watching party without actually being a show, and the best part is if you agree or disagree. Katie's Rescue, Brooke's bridal show, Taylor's discovery. The bold and the beautiful is finally here. In today's episode, Katie Logan frees Brooke Logan. Ridge Forrester gets a surprise on the runway. Additionally, Taylor Hayes arrives just in time to witness Ridge Forrester and bridal Brooke walking the runway. The excitedness of Forrester Creations' several models are seen strutting down the runway at the beginning of the episode. At least they are wearing actual dresses rather than what some designers try to pass off as fashion. Carter Walton, Steffy Forrester, Finnegan Ivy Forrester, and Steffy Forrester are examining the monitors. Steffy and Ivy rush off, leaving Carter alone. Ridge approaches Carter and observes the monitors. Read more. Find out what happened on the last episode of B&B. Donna Logan and Eric Forrester talk about the secret. Katie assures them that Ridge has no idea. Eric says that Ridge needs to remember who he is with Brooke. Donna says that Brooke is ready and nothing is going to stop her from getting on that stage. The lock-in of Taylor Hayes. Taylor is merely standing there while Brooke is pounding on the door. Taylor says, "Well, it's gotta open somehow." "Well, gee Taylor, why don't you take a crack at it, then?" Brooke asks for Taylor's phone, but she didn't bring it. Brooke says her rival has no place at Forrester Creations. As the models line up to enter the stage, Daphne Rose sprays them with perfume. Everyone is told that Daphne is the perfumer they smell. As she walks off, a fake model sniffs the air. Backstage, Daphne comments that this is more exciting than she imagined. Steffi discusses Daphne and Zende Forrester Dominguez's showpiece. Donna gives a knowing smile. Taylor and Brooke are still bickering. Brooke eventually goes back to bickering before saying before it's too late. Taylor bites her lip. Eric Forrester panics. Eric and Zende are gushing at the monitors. Eric's designs are complimented by Zende. The lethal secret that was kept for all those months is brought up by the patriarch. Even though it was difficult, Zende did it for the family. Zende exits before making a joke about Eric partying hard. When Zende leaves, Will Spencer and Electra Forrester approach Eric. He's looking for Brooke. Have they seen her? They haven't, but they say they can help him look. Meanwhile, Steffi rushes to Ridge asking about her mom. Ridge believes that she is watching the show. Brooke continues to pound on the door. Taylor leans back casually and smiles. Taylor says everyone is busy. They come once Ridge realizes she's missing, then they will find Brooke too. They continue bickering. Taylor claims that she did not intend to do it. Taylor adds that Brooke betrayed Ridge when she took the CEO job. Brooke realizes that she is supposed to be up next when she sees the monitor in the room. Eric tells Ridge that he's worried about Brooke. Walking down a hallway, Katie, Will, and Electra hear Brooke's cries for help. Brooke tells Katie through the door that Taylor locked her in there. Taylor looks slightly panicked. Charlie Weber shows up and fumbles looking for the keys. They scurry away after Katie pulls Brooke out of the door. Taylor remains seated in the room. Ridge and Eric are bickering about the showstopper. They believe Brooke remains missing. While Ridge takes the stage, Katie makes a soft motion to bring Eric over. In a room, Donna, Katie, and Eric help Brooke get ready. Eric pushes her out the door in a wedding dress so she can get on stage. The bold and the beautiful 5 compelling reasons Liam could be killed off. Bridal show of Brooke Logan. As Ridge is cutting the event short, Brooke shows up wearing that wedding dress. Oohs and ahs from the audience. Saxophone music plays as Eric narrates the story of Ridge. Ridge begins to smile. As Brooke slowly walks down the runway, the audience applauds. When Brooke motions to Ridge, he runs up and grabs her hand. Then, the two bow to the audience. Taylor suddenly shows up and looks distraught as she watches Bridge walk down the runway. Steffy follows Taylor into the room with the same helpless expression on her face. Taylor's desperation may cost her Ridge. Taylor Hayes may have gone a little too far this time. She was, of course, invited to the most recent performance by Forrester Creations. She has reconciled with Ridge Forrester, so naturally, she was added to the guest list. However, the good doctor shouldn't be behind the scenes hindering things. Take a seat, Taylor, preferably in the audience. Taylor wanted to go backstage to wish Ridge luck when she got to the show. That's fair enough, and she did that, but then she decided to hang around to support her man. Ridge was too busy to pay her any attention, and Taylor created a literal mess after colliding with someone. That ought to have prompted her to sit down, but Taylor thought it was a great time to get into a fight with Brooke Logan instead. Any other day, Taylor might have had a valid reason to confront Brooke, but not today, not in the middle of the backstage mayhem. Brooke was legitimately busy and tried to defuse the situation, eventually by walking away. At that point, Taylor should have realized that this wasn't the time and left Brooke alone, but she was on a mission. Taylor unintentionally locked Brooke and her in a dressing room when she followed her into it and shut the door so Brooke could yell at her in private. After that, Brooke lost it because she was supposed to be the showstopper in the walk, and now she can't even leave the dressing room. Brooke was handpicked by Eric Forrester to wear his most iconic creation for the show. Now, she is at the mercy of whoever hears her yelling from behind a locked door down the hall. Taylor is already on borrowed time with Ridge. Taylor may tell everyone that she and Ridge are now rock solid and better than ever, but that doesn't make it true. Yes, he ran back to Taylor right after believing that Brooke had betrayed him, and he began planning a new life with her, but that doesn't mean that Ridge will stay. In fact, if history repeats itself, then we know that he won't stay. Everyone puts Taylor on a professional pedestal, and her crashing the Forresters' special day with nothing but negativity and disrespect is not going to sit well with Ridge. The day the Forrester Creations fashion show reached its climax would go down in bold and the beautiful history as one of its most explosive and deliciously dramatic moments, with Brooke Logan once again at the epicenter, setting the stage not just for an unforgettable runway reveal but also for shattered dreams, seething rivalries, and the quiet implosion of relationships backstage. The runway was a buzzing hive of energy as models glided down the catwalk, flaunting Ridge, Eric, and Zenday's latest high-fashion creations, the crowd entranced by not only the designs but also the intoxicating new fragrance Daphne Rose that filled the air like an invisible, seductive force field. Zendaya and Will Spencer watched the glowing reaction on the monitors, basking in the glory of success, while backstage, Eric Forrester, the ever-scheming patriarch, plotted something far deeper than a fashion win. He orchestrated a moment meant to jolt Ridge's heart back to Brooke, working hand in hand with Donna and Katie Logan, keeping their secret plan tightly under wraps to ensure maximum emotional impact. Eric, holding on to a romanticized vision of Ridge and Brooke's storied past, especially their idyllic Portofino wedding, wanted to manipulate fate, believing he could re-anchor Ridge's heart just by setting the perfect stage, and he planned to do it by unleashing Brooke, dressed as a stunning, bridal showstopper, onto the catwalk without Ridge ever seeing it coming. Meanwhile, Zenday's loyalty was praised as Eric thanked him for remaining loyal during the ugly corporate coup that had so recently rocked Forrester Creations, while Will and Elektra marveled at how well the entire event was unfolding until chaos struck behind the scenes. In a disastrous turn of events laced with bitter irony, Brooke and Taylor found themselves trapped in Brooke's private vault dressing room, locked in with no phones, no hope, and mounting tension. Brooke, frantic, realized her carefully timed showstopper moment was slipping through her fingers, banging on the heavy door while Taylor, frustratingly calm, stood there shrugging and suggesting that eventually someone would notice their absence. The claustrophobic setting amplified their toxic dynamic, with Brooke furiously accusing Taylor of sabotage, even as Taylor apologized and tried to insist it was an accident. Brooke, eyes blazing, spat venom about Taylor not belonging at Forrester Creations, while Taylor, biting back, coolly reminded Brooke that her coup stealing the CEO position and pushing Ridge's emotions aside had cost her dearly. Taylor, as always, wanted Brooke to face the pain she'd caused Ridge, while Brooke just wanted out of the room and onto that runway where history would be rewritten once again. As the minutes ticked by, the tension grew hotter, with Taylor needling Brooke about being dressed only in a robe, a detail that only stoked her suspicions that something far bigger was afoot. Brooke, trapped between panic and pride, refused to reveal her plan, desperate to cling to the secrecy that would make her upcoming reveal all the more impactful. As the models continued to sashay on stage, Daphne Rose spritzing perfume behind them like fairy dust, Steffi grew concerned when she couldn't find Taylor, but Ridge brushed it off, assuming his sometimes fiancé was enjoying the show from the audience. Meanwhile, Will, Elektra, and Katie were dispatched in a growing panic to locate Brooke, setting off a frantic backstage search. Carter and Ridge, oblivious to the storm brewing behind the scenes, shared a rare moment of brotherly camaraderie, celebrating the triumphant reception their designs were receiving, as social media lit up with praise. Yet underneath the polished surface, trouble was brewing. Eric began to panic, realizing that without Brooke, the entire Showstopper moment, the crowning jewel of the evening, was in jeopardy. Finally, by sheer luck, Katie, Will, and Elektra heard Brooke's frantic cries from inside the vault. Charlie Webber's bumbling appearance with a set of keys was almost comical, and he fumbled and dropped them before finally freeing Brooke. Once unleashed, Brooke sprinted down the hallway, with Katie and Donna hurriedly pulling her into a side room to prep her for the runway. Backstage was a whirlwind of chaos as Ridge, who was now on stage, attempted to stall the crowd by humor and charm. Eric gave Brooke a rousing pep talk. Donna and Katie scrambled to get her into the Showstopper gown, a breathtaking bridal masterpiece, a perfect echo of her Portofino wedding dress, and with barely a second to spare, they shoved her toward the runway. And then, it happened. The Showstopper moment Eric had dreamed of. Brooke stepped slowly onto the runway while saxophone music swelled in the background, and the audience gasped in awe as Ridge prepared to prematurely end the show. Ridge's face shifted instantly from confusion to stunned, boyish delight. There she was, his Logan radiating a beauty and familiarity that hit him square in the heart. Brooke moved with grace, each deliberate step and fabric flutter intended to evoke nostalgia and longing. As she reached the end of the runway, she motioned to Ridge to join her, and, swept up in the moment, he did, grabbing her hand and basking in the roaring applause. They bowed together, beaming, and everything else vanished at that point. Brooke and Ridge, known as Bridge, were once more united in front of the runway lights. However, not everyone was cheering. From the wings of the stage, Taylor and Steffi stood frozen in horror, their faces a portrait of betrayal, disbelief, and raw anger. Taylor, who had believed she had finally established a relationship with Ridge, witnessed her entire effort vanish in a heartbreaking tableau. Steffi was equally astounded when she realized that Brooke always found a way to re-enter Ridge's heart and, by extension, Forrester Creations itself, no matter how many corporate battles or coups she won. Even though the stage smiles attempted to make it appear otherwise, the consequences were immediate. Backstage, the Logan women hugged triumphantly, while Eric stood proud, even as he prepared for the inevitable storm brewing at home with Taylor. Eric had been there for Taylor for months, encouraging her relationship with Ridge and counseling her through the pain of betrayal, only to now, when it was most important, lend his support to Brooke and plan a covert ambush reunion. Taylor would never forget that betrayal, which was astonishing. Meanwhile, Taylor's position became even more precarious. Ridge may have reassured her for weeks that their connection was strong, that history wouldn't repeat itself, but one glimpse of Brooke in a wedding gown had shattered all those assurances. Taylor and Steffi didn't want to face the reality that Brooke Logan was, and probably always will be, Ridge's true north after the runway moment. Even as she tried to remain composed, Taylor's backstage meltdown was developing. She had walked into Forrester Creations with the best of intentions, wanting to wish Ridge well, to be supportive, but she had misstepped, lingering too long backstage, colliding with models, bickering with Brooke when she should have retreated gracefully to the audience. Her decision to confront Brooke had spectacularly backfired, resulting in chaos, her locking herself in a room, and almost ending the show. Worse, it gave Brooke the perfect excuse to play the victim, emerging from the vault breathless and triumphant, only to step into the limelight and claim Ridge's heart yet again. The damage Taylor did that day wasn't just tactical, it was symbolic. By letting her insecurities get the best of her, she reinforced the very narrative Brooke had always pushed, that Taylor was an outsider, an afterthought, always one step behind. Meanwhile, Steffi's fury simmered just below the surface. She had put in so much effort to keep Brooke away, safeguard the reconciliation between her parents, and ensure that Forrester Creations remained under the family's legitimate control. Yet here was Brooke, swooping back in, using the family business and the very runway Steffy had helped to build as a stage for her personal conquest. Not only was it disrespectful, but it was also war. For Steffy, the fight for Ridge's loyalty and for the future of Forrester Creations had just entered a whole new phase. Brooke's audacious runway stunt, combined with Eric's behind-the-scenes manipulation, made it clear that the battle lines had been redrawn. Brooke wasn't playing by any rules, and neither, it seemed,